There is a wolf alive right now that has been extinct for 10,000 years. Not a look-alike, not a relative, a genetically reconstructed dire wolf. 3 of them, actually. Born last year, living in a private facility somewhere in the United States, and almost nobody is talking about how completely insane that is. But here's what got me. When I went down the rabbit hole on this, the dire wolves are not even close to the most disturbing part, because the same company that made them, a $10 billion biotech startup, has a list. And the further down that list you go, the more the story stops being about science and starts being about power, money, and a question that the world's top biologists are genuinely terrified to answer. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what's on that list. You're going to understand exactly how they're doing it, and you're going to have to decide for yourself whether this is humanity's greatest achievement or the beginning of something we cannot take back. Let's go. The company is called Colossal Biosciences, and before I tell you what they've done, I need you to understand what they are, because this is not a university research lab. This is not a government project. This is a private company, backed by venture capital, defense contractors, and celebrity investors, that has raised over $600 million with one stated goal: bring extinct animals back to life. Make money doing it. Their co-founder is Ben Novak, a geneticist. Their other co-founder is Ben Lamb, a tech entrepreneur. And their science advisor is George Church, one of the most decorated geneticists in the world, based at Harvard, who once said, on the record, that he believed we could clone a Neanderthal if we wanted to. Yeah, that guy. Here's the list of animals Colossal is actively working to de-extinct right now. The dire wolf, done. 3 pups alive. The woolly mammoth, embryo planned for 2026. The Tasmanian tiger, target 2029. The dodo bird, early stages. 4 animals, 4 different stories, and I'm going to take you through all of them, from the one that already happened to the one that might break your brain entirely. Starting with the wolves. On April 7th, 2025, Colossal Biosciences held a press conference, and they walked out in front of the cameras and said, word for word, "We have successfully created the first animals of a previously extinct species. 3 dire wolf pups." Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking Game of Thrones. You're thinking big white fantasy wolf. And honestly, you're not wrong. The dire wolf was real. It roamed North America during the last ice age, bigger than any modern wolf, wider skull, more powerful jaw, thick white fur, and it hunted megafauna, giant bison, ground sloths, maybe even young mammoths. It went extinct over 10,000 years ago. And here is the science of how they brought it back. And I'm going to make this as simple as possible because it genuinely doesn't need to be complicated. They found 2 dire wolf fossils. 1 tooth, 13,000 years old. 1 skull, 72,000 years old. Older than most human civilizations. They extracted the DNA. They sequenced the genome. They compared it to modern gray wolf DNA. And they found that dire wolves and gray wolves share 99.5% of their DNA. So they used CRISPR. Think of it like a genetic find and replace to edit gray wolf cells. Change the coat color gene, change the skull shape, change the fur thickness, create the 0.5% difference that makes a dire wolf a dire wolf. Clone those cells, create embryos, use surrogate mothers. Wait. October 1st, 2024, 2 male pups born, named Romulus and Remus. January 30th, 2025, 1 female pup born, named Khaleesi. I'm not joking, they named her Khaleesi. All 3 are alive. Romulus and Remus are already over 80 pounds, and Colossal's own team says, I love this, they are not tame, but habituated to people. Now I want you to sit with that for a second. There are 3 animals alive right now that represent a species that hasn't existed since the last ice age. They're in a pen somewhere in America. They're growing. They're real. They're not in a lab. They're not a simulation. They're not a render. And the company that made them is already moving on to the next one. Okay, the dire wolves are incredible, but they are literally the warm-up act. The woolly mammoth is next. And the scale of what I'm about to tell you I want you to actually feel this. Woolly mammoths went extinct approximately 4,000 years ago. 4,000 years ago. The Egyptian pharaohs were building the pyramids. The Bronze Age was in full swing. Writing had just been invented, and mammoths were still alive. We share a sliver of history with them. And now, in 2026, a company in Dallas is planning to create a mammoth embryo this year and implant it into an Asian elephant surrogate. If it works, a mammoth calf walks the earth in 2028. Let me repeat that. 2028, the same year as the Los Angeles Olympics. There might be a baby woolly mammoth alive. Here's the science. Same principle as the dire wolf. Asian elephants and woolly mammoths share 99.6% of their DNA. The team has already created woolly mice. Real mice, gene-edited to grow thick, coarse, mammoth-like fur as a proof of concept. The coat genes work. Now they scale up. But here's the part of the Mammoth project that completely blindsided me when I researched this. It's not just about the mammoth. Colossal's pitch to their investors and to governments is that reintroducing mammoths to the Arctic tundra could actively slow climate change. Here's how it works. Mammoths would stomp through the permafrost, compressing snow, allowing cold air to reach deeper into the ground. They'd knock down heat-absorbing trees. They'd graze dead grass to expose new growth that reflects more sunlight. This is called mammoth steppe restoration. And serious climate scientists, not fringe voices, serious ones, believe it could help keep the Arctic permafrost frozen. Why does that matter? Because the Arctic permafrost contains approximately twice the amount of carbon currently in the Earth's atmosphere. If it thaws, and it is thawing, the methane release would accelerate climate change in a way that makes everything we're currently doing to fight it look almost pointless. So the pitch is, bring back the mammoth. Save the permafrost. Slow the end of the world. I need a minute. That's the pitch. A $10 billion company is telling governments, give us a runway and we will engineer an extinct animal back into existence and use it as a climate intervention tool. And the most disturbing part? It might not be wrong.